Okay, so I'm in the Coast Guard, and I'm currently stationed in Kodiak, Alaska. I live in the barracks. I was cleaning my barracks room today, and I pulled up my armoire to vacuum behind it when I found this notebook. I took a look at it, and it's a journal. I figured it might be interesting to check out another guy's Kodiak experience, so I started reading it. I've read about a month's worth of entries, and it's definitely the kind of thing that belongs here. There's a good amount of jargon, so I've taken the liberty of adding in a few explanations, mostly for the abbreviations. 1st of January, 2012. I reported to my new unit today, Air Station Kodiak, Alaska. I'm really excited. Of all the units I could get sent to, I get sent to the one with a TV show about it. If you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be living in Alaska fixing machine guns for a living, I'd have laughed in your face. Just goes to show you never really know what's coming, I guess. Anyway, my new boss, GM1, or Gunner's Mate First Class Roberts, picked me up at the airport this morning. And it's a tiny airport too. There's only one gate, and baggage claim is a window that they drop your suitcase through. GM1 is a really nice guy. He helped me with my bags and took me out to breakfast, then drove me around and gave me a tour of the town and the base. We finished up the tour at the barracks, where GM1 helped me bring my bags to the front office and then left with a hearty, "See you in the morning." Since it's Sunday, they don't have a permanent room for me yet. But they got me set up with a bed in the squad bay, a big room with multiple beds, in the basement, and the guy at the front desk said I should get a room by tomorrow. I was a little worried at first, because the squad bay had like 20 beds in it, but there's only 2 other guys staying in here right now, so we all have plenty of room. I'm really looking forward to starting work tomorrow, and to getting my own room. One of the other guys in here just went to sleep and he's snoring. 2nd of January, 2012. First day at work today. I think I'm really going to like it here. I didn't get to do any actual work. I spent most of the time walking around in my dress blues, checking in with various people. The CO, the Command Master Chief, the Command Drug and Alcohol Representative, my division officer, etc. But I also got to meet all of the other people in my shop. Everyone here seems to be really nice. When I introduced myself as GM3, Gunner's Mate 3rd Class, Frederickson, they were like, "No man, what's your first name?" And that was that. Everyone here goes by their first name, except GM1 and the lieutenant, but even they call everyone by their first name. So here's the basic structure of our shop. Collectively, we're the weapon division. The division officer, LT, Lieutenant Burke, is in charge of us all. Within the division, there are 2 teams, Armory and Airborne Use of Force. Airborne Use of Force, or AUF, is made up of about 8 guys, AMTs and AETs, Aviation Maintenance Technicians and Avionics/Electrical Technicians, respectively, whose job it is to fly around in helicopters and shoot shit. I'm in the Armory. GM1 Roberts is in charge of us. Under him is GM2, or Gunner's Mate 2nd Class Jameson, and then me. We do maintenance and repair the weapons the AUF guys use, and we also handle all the ammo and give basic marksmanship training to new AUF gunners. All in all, it seems like a pretty badass way to make a living. I'm looking forward to starting some actual work tomorrow. Anyway, after work, I got checked into my very own room in the barracks. I lucked out too. Rooms in the main building have 2 beds and no alcohol is allowed. But I managed to get a room in the 21 and up building, which is down the road a little from the main building. The rooms there only have 1 bed and you can have alcohol in your room. I'm glad I managed to get in here, and not just because it means I get to have a beer after work without having to walk through the snow. See, the main building is recently renovated, so it has this sterile, clinical feel, like you'd expect from a military building. Fluorescent lights, long straight hallways, white walls and ceilings, and that blue carpet with little red and white flecks that you always see in public buildings. It feels more like a human resource storage facility than a home. Barracks 8, my building, on the other hand, hasn't been renovated since it was built in the 1980s, and with the government always being about 10 years behind the times, that means it has this really homey 70s feel to it. The carpets are softer and a darker shade of blue, the walls are beige on top and green on the bottom, with a little wood panel separating the two colours. There's a nice living room with soft couches on each of the 2 floors, and the second floor has a kitchen with a full-size oven and fridge, a deep freezer in case you bag any deer or fish, a dining table, a pool table, a poker table, and a stereo system. There's even an old-school wood-paneled mechanical vending machine in the first floor hallway. My actual room is nice too. The bed is relatively soft, and instead of the usual itchy grey wool blanket, they gave me a soft, green, warm comforter. There's a small recliner, desk and chair, a nightstand, 2 dressers, an armoire, a mini fridge and a microwave. And there's even a bathroom between every 2 bedrooms, with a door on either side so you can get in from either room. And the toilet is in a little stall so your neighbour can come in to use the sink or the shower without having to watch you take a dump. Definite plus. The only weird thing is that in order to save space in the bedrooms, they built the bathrooms sticking out into the hall a little bit, so the whole hall follows this zigzag pattern. Added to the cold incandescent lights being a little bit dim, and some of them being out altogether, the overall effect is a little odd. You can't see from one end of the hall to the other. In fact, you can't see more than 8 or 10 feet in either direction because of the curves. Okay, so I finished writing the last paragraph and then went out to have a smoke. It's only like 6, but since it's January in Alaska, it gets dark around 4, so it was pitch black outside, except for a little light above the door. While I was out there smoking, the door on the second floor opens and this guy steps out onto the porch and just stands there. He doesn't light up a smoke or go downstairs to the parking lot or anything. He just stands there. And then as I'm looking at him, I realize I can't see him very well because the porch light is behind him and he's being backlit by it. But I think he's looking at me. No, staring. He's just standing there, totally still. The longer I look at him, the more sure I am that he's staring back at me. I wave at him, but he doesn't move. He just stands there, staring. So I stand there, looking back at him for so long my cigarette goes out. I go to relight it, and when I look back up, the dude is gone. No tracks in the snow, and I didn't even hear the door open. He's just gone. So I put up my cigarette, even though there's some left, and I come back inside. I don't know what's up with that guy, but it was so weird and unsettling I had to write it down. I double-checked and made sure the front door to my room, the door to the bathroom, and the window are all locked, and they are. What a weirdo. Oh well, I guess no place is perfect. January 3rd, 2012. First day of actual work today. GM2 and I took apart and cleaned some machine guns that the AUF guys brought to the range last week. It was fun, and I learned a lot of little tricks on how to get them clean, but man, I'm tired. I got woken up at like 2 in the morning last night by some butthole stumping around in the hallway upstairs. At first I thought it was probably some drunk dude stumbling back to his room. It is the 21 and over building after all. But he didn't ever really go anywhere. Just stomped from one end of the hallway to the other and back again, back and forth, back and forth. It was really annoying and I couldn't get back to sleep. After about 10 minutes of relentless stomping, I finally decided to go up there and give the guy a piece of my mind. But as soon as I sat up, I heard the side door open and close. Then the guy stomped down the outside stairs and I guess he left, because I didn't hear him anymore, and fell back asleep a few minutes later. But man, being woken up like that can really mess up a good night's sleep. What was that guy up to anyway? Just back and forth for 10 minutes and then he leaves? Walks out into the snow at 2 in the morning? And I didn't hear a car start up, so did he just walk out into the night? I wonder if it was that same weirdo who was staring at me earlier. 5th of January, 2012. I heard that stomping again last night, around midnight. This time I listened to it for about 5 minutes before deciding to go upstairs and talk some sense into the guy. So I threw on a shirt and my slippers and walked down the hall to the stairs. And I could hear the guy stomping the whole time. But once I got up to the 2nd floor, I couldn't find him. There was no one up there. I went from one end of the hall to the other, and nobody was there. No doors were open, nobody was in the living room or the kitchen, nothing. If I ever catch this phantom stomper, I'm going to ruin his fucking evening, I swear. 6th of January, 2012. Friday. First week at the new job is over. I didn't hear the stomping guy last night, and I actually got a good night's sleep. There's a bar on base, right down the road from the barracks. I'm going to meet some guys from the shop there later and have a couple of beers. 8th of January, 2012. Okay, this is getting weird. Just a minute ago, there was a knock at my door. I got up and answered it, but there was nobody out there. I stepped out into the hall and no one was around. But then I noticed there was snow tracked on the carpet. The tracks went from the side door to my room, then back again. I know they're not mine, because I always wipe my boots really well to avoid tracking snow all over. But here's the weirdest part. The carpet in front of the door to my room was soaking wet. I can't be sure, but it seems like whoever knocked on my door stood in front of it for a really long time. Long enough for some of the snow on their jacket or whatever to fall onto the carpet and melt. But then as soon as they knocked, they left without waiting for me to answer the door. Someone is fucking with me and I don't appreciate it. 13th of January, 2012. I'm starting to get the hang of things at work, and I'm falling into a routine. I like this job and I'm good at it. We're going to the range next week and I'm looking forward to it. I told GM1 I'm not a very good shot, and he promised he would help me get my expert medal before summer. I haven't had any more issues with the stomping or knocking or staring. I hear there's a guy at work who's trying to sell his Ford Bronco. I'm going to take a look at it next week. Hopefully I can take it off his hands and explore a little more of the island. 18th of January, 2012. There's this shed, kind of between the side of the barracks building and the smoking area. I was outside smoking a minute ago, and I looked up and saw someone standing by the shed, facing me. It was dark and I couldn't see him very well, but I'm sure it was the same guy from before. And I'm sure he was staring at me again. I had had enough. I walked straight over there without even putting my cigarette out because I didn't want him to vanish again. As I was walking toward him, he stepped behind the shed and out of view. I followed him around the side of the shed and he was gone. The tracks went around the back of it and then just stopped. Like he fucking teleported away. I looked around for a minute before deciding to go back to the smoking area and finish my cigarette. There's a little shack so you don't have to get rained or snowed on while you smoke. When I was about halfway to it, I saw him step out of the shack and start walking toward me. I don't know how he got over there so fast and without leaving any tracks in the knee-deep snow. I wanted to go over there and clock him, but the way he was walking, pushing his way through the piled-up snow so quickly, so purposefully, I lost my nerve. I flicked my cigarette into the snow and went the hell back inside. When I was almost back to my room, he started pounding on the side door, the one I had just entered the building through. Not knocking, I mean pounding, hard. The whole door was shaking in its frame. I just stood there for a few seconds, not sure what to do. And then one of the guys down the hall came out of his room and yelled, "What the fuck?" And the pounding just stopped. He asked me if I knew what that was about, and I told him what happened, and we called the front desk to complain, but nobody answered. I don't know what this fucking guy's deal is, but I'm starting to get a little scared. 19th of January, 2012. I bought that Bronco today. After all that's been going on, I need to get away from the barracks for a while, so I talked my buddy Jack into going camping this weekend. I rented a tent and stuff from MWR, Morale, Welfare and Recreation, and bought some beer and food and firewood. We're leaving tomorrow and we're coming back Sunday. Jack says he knows a good spot where there won't be a lot of people around, so we can set up some targets and shoot them without having to worry about shooting into another campsite by accident. That camping trip was exactly what I needed. I hadn't realized how much this situation with this weird guy has been putting me on edge, until I actually got the chance to just put some distance between myself and Barracks 8 and relax. I actually had a great time. Jack and I sat around the fire and got a little bit drunk on Friday night, swapping stories about search and rescue cases we'd been on, girls we'd screwed, our jobs before the Coast Guard. Saturday morning after breakfast, we hiked through the woods around our campsite to make sure there wasn't anyone else around, then set up the beer bottles from the night before and took turns shooting at them. Then today, we hiked a little more before breaking camp and coming back to base. I dropped Jack off at his house. He's married, so he gets an actual house, and came back to the barracks for a nice long hot shower. I'm going to go to bed early tonight, and then try to figure out what I'm going to do about this weird guy tomorrow. 23rd of January 2012. This afternoon, when I came home from work, I saw my next door neighbor, the one I share a bathroom with, going into his room with some luggage. I asked him if he was going on leave, and he said no, he was just coming back. He had gone to Anchorage over the weekend with some friends for a snowboarding trip. I asked him how the trip was. He said it was good. We said goodbye and went into our respective rooms. But here's the thing. Yesterday evening, while I was in the shower, I heard the door leading from my neighbor's room into our shared bathroom open. I heard him walk over to the sink and turn on the water. He ran the water for a couple minutes. It sounded like he was washing his face or something. Then he shut off the water, went back into his room, and closed and locked the door. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but if he was in Anchorage all weekend, if he just got back today, then who the hell came into the bathroom last night? That's all I've read through so far. I need to get to bed. I have work in the morning. But honestly, I'm kinda creeped out by this. I'm the new GM3 at Air Station Kodiak. I work in the weapons division, the same shop this Frederickson guy worked in. Could this journal be written by the guy I replaced? I'm going to look through the file cabinet tomorrow and see what I can find. I'll throw out an update once I've read up some more of the journal, probably in a couple of days. In the meantime, let me know what you think.